All right, welcome back, Shalom family. Welcome back to the Kingdom of Israel. Today, we're going off into the concept of oppression. We're talking about this 250 years. They're celebrating, looking at this whole independence and asking like whose independence is it? Well, we're going to look at this more from the standpoint of the Bible and how independence is thought of, and what righteousness looks like. So without further ado, we coming in hot, right? We just going to go. Looking at Prophecy 2026. Thank you all for coming into the live. 250 years of oppression. Let's see how the words of antiquity, let's see how they register towards what's happening. All right. We're going to start off with Psalms 10 and number 1. Thank you all for coming into the live. Hey, share the live, repost the live, right? We're just getting started. Thank you all for coming in. Tap the screen. That part doesn't cost anything. That's how you show your support for the live. All right. So we're going to start off with Psalms 10 and number 1. Oh, I also have to announce that for those of you that are looking for the religious pretense, we don't deal with Christianity, Catholicism, or Judaism, but we stand to the heritage of the people for whom these writings truly are meant for. And we also look at how these words are meant to assist us in this day and time, looking at the allegory, looking at the sense of the parable, not dealing with the core of the literal sense, because that literal sense, it has misguided, right? Or it's been misunderstood by so many for ages and generations. So it's time to get into the deeper meaning of what these words are intended to say or express, right? So you find that through the allegory. You find that through the parable. So we stay away from all of the religious context. That's what has the world in so much trouble. So let's do it again. 250 years, of oppression, and we want to find what independence looked like within a biblical sense. All right. Thank you all for coming into the live. We're going to start off with Psalms 10 and number 1. Why stand thou afar off, O Lord? Why hide thyself in times of trouble? So again, you all, when we see words like Lord, right? When we see words like God, we need to associate these words not with the image of, a man or something along those lines, but we need to see that in line with conduct, in line with a process, in line with a standard, associated by a principle context, right? That being righteous, or that being corruption and or wickedness. Just so we can get the deeper meaning, just so that we can understand that allegory, right? The mystery, the secret, okay? And to make the words applicable to our day and time. Otherwise, you just read over it and it means nothing, to you. But he said, why do you stand off in times of trouble? Why is righteousness so far away from us in this day of trouble? He said, the wicked in his pride do persecute the poor. How is it that the wicked seems to have so much power in this day, in this time? He said, let them be taken in the device that they have imagined. All of the leaders of this world, this is, the prophecy being stated or saying, righteousness is going to, the wicked are going to be taken within their own device of corruption. All these policies and these procedures and all of this chaos that they've created, it's going to blow back on them. Okay. Number 3, he said, for the wicked boast of his heart's desire. And we hear them, we see them as they're saying 250 years. Look at what we've done. They're boasting about all of the corruption, all of their evil. And they feel as if they can't be stopped. He said, and bless the covetous. They bless those that align themselves with their evil. Because if you stand for righteousness and against the things that they promote, then they come against you. You know it. We know it. But for those of you that signed the contract to deal treacherously and to do their bidding, then they bless you. He said, whom the Lord abhor. What righteousness can't stand? Righteousness does not associate with the corruption. But for those that boast in their wicked heart and those that bless evil, those that stand for righteousness, we hate it. So when we talk about how they bless each other within their wickedness, we go to Luke 4 and 6, because some folks, one, they do not think that something of a devil has power. See, in the religion, they say all kind of unfounded, in Christianity and Catholicism, even in Judaism, they say all sorts of unfounded things. Even that there is no devil or the devil has no power. I mean, all these things. But according to the writing, the aspect of a devil is real. Doesn't have red skin, horns out of his head, arrow pointed tail. He's a man. And in this day and time, if you're looking from the sense of exercising your senses, meaning sight, and you're not dealing with it from the carnal sense, you see who the devil is. Incarnate of a man. Right? But here, talking about how the devil can bless you. Looking at the limited sense of power that he has, because some folks say the devil has no power. But let's look at some writings within antiquity and come to understand what that power is, although it's limited, right? Luke 4:6, he says, and the devil said unto him, looking at this in the sense of the parable, he said, all this power will I give thee, and the glory of them, meaning, and the fame. I'm going to give you power, and you're going to have fame. He said, for that is delivered unto me, meaning I've been given a limited sense of power to do whatever I want. He said, and to whomsoever will I give it? And I'll give it to all of those that agree to work for me, to do according to my contract. He says, if thou will worship me, meaning if you'll serve me. So in today's world, we see who is serving man. They're not looking to understand core degrees of principles and righteousness. They're locked into the trend of this world. So, either knowingly or by default, you're serving the devil. You're worshiping the devil, even if you say Jesus Christ. Even if you say, I'm a Baptist, I'm a Methodist, I'm a this, I'm a that. If you've not yet identified the tenets and or the principles to that which you serve, by default, you're going to be serving within the glory of a devil. Because some man is leading you within your thought process or have led you within your thought process, even as you look at the proponents of this society that unconsciously we were born into. But he says, if thou will worship me, all shall be thine. So this is how the wicked are blessed, for doing the bidding of evil. Psalms 10:4. The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, because it looked like they got it going on, the way they posture up, right, will not seek after God. They say, look at us, we're doing good. Well, God, what are you talking about? What we're doing is working. Look. Don't talk to us about no righteousness or about, changing what we do. Don't you see all of our fame? Don't you see all of our money? And look at the things that we can produce and the things that we can do. So those things become their God. That's what they serve within the limited sense of power that they've been given. Will not seek after God, will not seek after righteousness, as they boast about 250 years. But for us, it's been 250 years of oppression. Thank you all for coming into the live. But they will not seek after God. You replace that with righteousness for the sake of the allegory, the hidden meaning, the secret, that you can have an understanding as to what this is saying. So from the literal sense, you just don't read over it because it don't make sense. You can't apply it to what's happening in real time today. It says God is not in all his thoughts, meaning their way of doing things is not focused on principle and or righteousness. So beware, be mindful. Start to scrutinize these two concepts. And then he says, his ways are always grievous. So when you look at who's leading this world and come to understand they're functioning within the sense of degenerate principles, degenerate concepts, these ways are grievous. Thus, 250 years of oppression. While they boast that it's a day of independence. But these ways are grievous when you talk about their policies, when you talk about their procedures, when you talk about their the mischief within law that they create, when you look at their constitutions, well, let's say the way they manipulate their constitutions. Okay? When you look at these things, their justice system, in the halls of their parliaments, the executive branch, legislative branch, all these things generate grievous standards for the people as they boast 250 years. But for most of us that are not them, it's been oppressive. Their ways are grievous. And they don't look to function according to any principle that provides the standards of righteousness. They abhor righteousness like the righteous abhor their evil. But when you look at 1 John 5:3, if we're talking about righteousness, it says, for this is the love of God, meaning this is the love of righteousness. Not talking about a love based on how you make me feel, right? But love centered around standard, the thing that guides us. He says, this is the love of righteousness, that we keep his commandments. See, so these commandments, these standards are different than their standards, than the laws and the policies and procedures that they put up. But who knows about these commandments? Because when you talk about these commandments, folks' eyes start rolling in their head because they've done a very good job at burying the concept of righteousness and what the true commandments are. And they leave us to argue and fight over these things, right? But he says, for this is the love of righteousness, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. See, these are the two different sides. But a number of us are not really focused on it that way because the religious dogma and, all of the pragmatism, the American pragmatism, and, all of the things that they've imagined to keep people sidetracked, and the way they've been positioned to deceive the world. We don't know where those commandments are, but the commandments have been written and they're here for us to understand. But for those who will study and then who will apply them to their life, because in today's world, there's no institution out that teach according to core principles and or righteousness. They just don't. It doesn't exist. For them to be in control of the world, why would it exist? Why would they have something in position and or place to knock them out of power and or position? So they do everything they can to hide these things and to keep people arguing about these things. But their standards are grievous. And when you come to the standards of righteousness within the sense of truth, these standards are not grievous. But for them to stay in position, for them to stand in power and or control, then they work within grievous standards. Don't care who they hurt. Don't care what they take, what the cost is. It doesn't matter. They're going to do what they want to do. Psalms 10:5, coming back. His ways are always grievous. talking about those that are in rulership of the world today, their policies, their procedures. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight, meaning righteousness is nowhere in the vicinity of what they do, as you all are telling and are trying to convince people to support their democracy. To just vote for this one or vote for that one, in the end, you're still voting for corruption. You're not looking to vote for a true sense of freedom within liberation, to turn the world around and operate upon standards that are not grievous, centered upon righteousness. You're not promoting that. It says, thy judgments are far above out of thy sight. America is not governed by any standard of God, any standard of righteousness. They are not. Okay? He says, as for all his enemies, as for all the enemies of America, as a number of you are in line today to celebrate with evil and 250 years of evil. As for all his enemies, he puff at. Meaning, if you are not on the side of their doings, then, they have a way of huffing, or they have a way of threatening you. So for those that are against their evil, then they threaten you. Number 6, he said in his heart, I shall not be moved. Is this not the way they talk today? As they boast about 250 years, they're not going to make it to 300. There, I said it. They're not going to make it to 300. But they say, I shall not be moved. I shall never be in adversity. Listen to this foolish talk from these men. And those of you that have contracted and or decided to go with them because they give you the sense of convenience. But the convenience is to your destruction. Some of you don't care as long as you can be satisfied temporarily. You'll accept a temporary convenience for an everlasting destruction. It doesn't make sense. Really, that shows the state of the world within mental health. We're suffering. Isaiah 24:1, you all, as we look at 250 years of oppression. Thank you all for coming into the live. Tap the screen. That part doesn't cost anything, right? That's how you show your support for the live. You share the live, you repost the live, because we're going to break this down as it pertains to biblical writings in a manner and a way that most of you are not used to, outside of the literal sense. And we're going to stay focused on the secrets that are written within these words around the allegory. We're going to give understanding to the parables. We're going to make it applicable to this day. He says, behold, the Lord make the earth empty. So behold, when the earth is without righteousness, you all, it's empty. Right? He said, and make it waste. When wickedness is in rule, you all, the earth is in waste. Tell me you don't see it. Tell me you don't see the decay in the world. The entire world is in a decline under their rulership. Tell me you don't see it. Tell me, just say you disagree. If you disagree, just put in the chat, I disagree. If you agree, just put in the chat, you agree, to let me know you see it, or if you don't see it. He said, and make it waste. He said, and turn it upside down. So wickedness has a way of turning the world upside down. And this is what we see. Everything is dysfunctional. He said, and scatter abroad the inhabitants thereof. So there's no strength within the people because people are scattered abroad. People are not, standing in the unisons of their heritage. They've become, more spoiled within the concept of melting pots, right? And mixing cultures. And, for these reasons, everything is splintered. But those of the evil nature, they've consolidated power. But they've turned the world from a balanced sense and or state within righteousness. They've turned it upside down. And I believe a number of you see it. So within these writings, we get the understanding as to what's happened as we're focused on prophecy, but then it tells us what's going to happen. And then it also gives us the understanding that we can align ourselves with it to be protected from the blowback, because they're not going to make 300 years. And I know for some of you, you're numb to the conversation because you say you all have been talking this for ages and generations. So you've agreed wholly to function and or deal with corruption. You're okay with the evil. It appeases your convenience. He said, turn the world upside down and scatter abroad the inhabitants thereof. For a real brief, it takes me to a thought within the verse Acts 17:6, where you had those that have agreed with the contract of corruption. They said, crying, these are they that have turned the world upside down and have come hither also, meaning these folks have come into, or there were some men that went into into their world of wickedness, and they were bringing righteous pretense into it, and it was turning the wickedness, it was turning it over. So wickedness say, righteousness is turning the world upside down. Righteousness cries that wickedness is turning the world upside down. So we have two instances where one from each side is speaking about their world being turned upside down, only to state and or say that the world as it pertains within wickedness right now, it shall be turned upside down to then implement righteousness. That's the only way, this is going to work. They're not going to make 300 years. They will not get another 50 years. It's just not going to happen. But he says, if we look at Psalms 82:5, he says, they know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course, you all. As we look at the world in the hand of the wicked, all the foundations of the earth, you all, it's out of course. Right? And then number 6, he says, I have said. Ye are gods. And all of you are children of the Most High. I have to put a pin on that one right there, because it's not talking about everybody. It says, I have said ye are gods. So it's basically saying for this point where the earth is out of course, it's because for those of us that are of the righteous nature, we've been persuaded by the evil standards or the standards of unrighteousness. So as we function within those standards, the earth is out of course, but should we resist and lean more toward the standards of righteousness and start training and teaching ourselves these standards within righteousness, then we stand as gods. We stand as men of righteousness to put the earth back on its course, because the Europeans today that are the stewards over the earth, those gods, they're not the stewards of righteousness, so therefore they're destroying the earth. But the true stewards of the earth right now are being subdued, are scattered, abroad. But the whole earth is off course because these people aren't in their rightful place. But he says, I have said ye are gods. So we have to understand, what does it mean to be a god? Oh, they don't have this talk within religion. Oh, no, don't say that. That's just too taboo. But let's deal with what's written. He says, and all of you are children of the Most High. Now, this is exclusive to a particular seed, to a particular mind of individual that's going to rule the earth in righteousness, the true steward centered around what it means to rule the earth. I don't know why that's so hard for a number of people to believe. As you see, there's a true steward and or people that's meant to rule the earth in corruption and wickedness. We see the people. You can follow their lineage. Oh, they do a good job of trying to throw you off the trail. But they were born to act within this corruption for a legitimate purpose that will have a concrete record of what not to ever do again. Act, understanding if you bring or allow in a iota of evil to come into our world, that it will destroy it. So the aim is to eradicate evil. It's going to happen. Evil will be eradicated. They're not going to see 300 years. Matthew 3:12. He said, whose fan is in his hand? And he will thoroughly purge his floor, meaning wickedness, the principles within corruption, they're not going to continue in this earth. The world is going to be turned upside down, that we can have things in its proper position and or place. So they can boast right now within all their might and all of their fame and all of what they have imagined and or have been able to show that they're doing. But this world that you all, a number of you, that you love so much, it's not the world of tomorrow. Because this world is centered around decay. Every day we're diminished. But within the world to come, there's no decay. Things are returned to their natural state. Some of you may not understand it because you're blinded by the God of this world. So the principles centered around truth are hidden from you, and you think this is just it, and there's something we can do to make it better. Well, the one thing we can do to make it better is fight against the evil. That's what's going to make it better, to remove the corrupt rulers from the seat of authority and to put the rightful rulers in the seat. Then we'll have clean air. Then we won't have to worry about global warming. We'll have pure food again. We won't be dealing with dis-ease. These are things that in a world of righteousness that we will not have to contend with. But because we're not familiar with that, then we're baffled and or we argue about it. We think it's a myth or some phantom, in our mind. But he says, his hand will thoroughly purge his floor, meaning the earth will be cleansed from the corruption, the evil, the wickedness, that mindset. The people that function within that manner will be eliminated. These are the people that the writings say they're born in vain. It says they're less than nothing. He says, and gather his wheat into the garner, meaning gather those that are of righteousness and protect them. Because this is who's going to put the world aright again. He says, and will burn up the chaff with unquenchable fire, meaning those that have agreed with the evil standards of this world, they will be destroyed. It's inevitable. The world cannot continue in the state and or fashion that it's going right now. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. Isaiah 24 and number 3. The land shall be utterly emptied, utterly spoiled. For the Lord hath spoken this word. So there are two ways we can look at this. The land being empty, the land being spoiled. 2, one is from the sense that right now, the mindset that's governed the world and the people in the world, we're vain, right? And we're spoiled, meaning we're focused on corruption. We're focused on wickedness. We don't know what righteousness is. That's the sense of spoiled and empty being vain. The other one is looking at the turnaround when he come to clean it all up and eradicate the evil out of the world. Number 4, he says, the earth mourn and fade away. And that's what I was just telling you, from the standards of their wickedness, it's not sustainable. As long as they're in leadership, it's as if the earth is fading away. And they keep promising and telling you, oh, we're going to fix it and we're going to pass this, act and this statute, and it's all in vain. They don't have it within them to fix anything when it's built within them to destroy. That's what they do. That's who they are. He said the world languish and fade away. As long as they are in rulership, the world is going to suffer. He says the hardy people of the earth do languish. When we look at righteous principles coming into position and or play, those that love corruption, they're not going, they just will, in their mind, that will be the worst thing ever. Because they don't get to relish at that point in their transgression. He said the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof. That's what I've been saying. And we have writings of antiquity to support it. It's just that within your religious institutions, within the seminary schools, they don't talk about these things. Within Christianity, Catholicism, and Judaism, some folks say this is fear-mongering. Some folks say, why do y'all want the world to end so bad? These are those that wish to continue within a standard meant to be grievous, as we're trying to get to a way within the world that's not grievous. But he said the earth is defiled under the inhabitants thereof. Why? It's because of a process. It's because of a procedure. Their policies, their procedures, their laws, they're prescribing how things should go. And it's not according to the commandments centered around righteousness. They make up their own, out of their own heart, out of their own mind, like so many of you love to do. As you say, it's in my heart, it's in my mind. You're just like them because you will not humble and or restrict yourself to commandments within righteousness. So when they receive the reward of the wicked, you're going to receive it too. The inhabitants, where is it? The earth is also defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws. The earth is in decay because we will not look at the righteous commandments. It's just that simple. But for some, you're still perplexed. You're not going to vote in a change for the world unless you're voting for liberation or unless you're voting to enact the commandments of righteousness. There's no democracy that's going to provide a sense of salvation for people. There's no democracy that's going to stop the world from decaying. There's no sense of democracy that's going to end disease, famine. The only remedy, which is not grievous, is understanding the commandments centered around righteousness. This only means you need to draw closer and scrutinize and break down what is righteousness. That you can know without a doubt how you're applying it to your life. What's the source of this righteousness? Because a number of you, again, you just want to make it up. And you think you can get it from anywhere. And that's why, for all that we've been through in the world, it's been documented. But a number of you are too prideful to even assess it, because you're just like the wicked ones. You think you know, you think you got it. Because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinances. They've changed the ordinances, you all. The ordinances of righteousness, those things which are not grievous, they changed it. And rightfully so, because they can't exist. They can't thrive in righteousness. So they had to change it so that they can live in a world that's suited for them. And you hear them talking about it, like in this world, like, you know, how they can't live in this world. Or I'll just use a wild example, you know, like a planet like Mars. They say they can't live there because it's not conducive, or the air is thin, or something along those lines. Well, it's the same thing right here on this earth. They can't live in a world centered around righteousness. That's their end. So if you want to stop the corruption, you don't vote 4 more years. You don't prescribe democracy. You interject with righteousness. That's the antidote. To be studied, to be applied. We should humble ourselves to righteousness, not men. So they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinances, broken the everlasting covenant. This is where we are. That's how we've gotten to this point. They've hidden the truth, and they've given you pragmatism in the guise of truth. And they've made it convenient. So therefore, it's hard for you to tell the difference. Isaiah 24:10. The city of confusion is broken down. Every house shut up, that no man may come in. So here, again, looking at that parable, looking at the hidden meaning. The city of confusion is broken down. Wickedness, it's not available anymore. The comfort that you all have driving around and getting into your houses and all of the things that you've become so accustomed to, it's not available. Every house is shut up, that no man may come in. The convenience that you're so used to in chaos will not be available. Number 11, it says, there is crying for wine in the streets. Let's not deal with this in the literal sense, because it's not talking about a wine that you drink. This is why I have to explain this from the standpoint of hidden meaning. Because for too long in their seminary schools and within the religion, Catholicism, Christianity, and Judaism, they've allowed for you to be misled because it benefits their nature, their agenda, their interest, as they've set out to deceive the entire world. But this wine is talking about doctrine, is talking about mindset. This wine is talking about a truth. This wine is talking about righteousness. There is crying for righteousness in the streets. All joy is darkened, because within the world today, you all have fabricated joy. But when wickedness comes to an end, you're going to be in shock. All joy is darkened. The myrrh of the land is gone, but it's for the good of the world. And for that, if I have to live to be uncomfortable just a bit, that we can then live to no more be in a state being grieved by corruption, I'll take it. Luke 17:26. Thank you all for coming into the live. Right? Tap the screen. That part doesn't cost anything. That's how you show your support for the live. You share the live and you all repost the live as we look to talk about 250 years of oppression. And I'm telling you, they're not going to make it to 300. And we're looking at prophecy here in 2026, going through the writings and showing how it's applicable to this day, what we can expect in the coming years, how we can align ourselves that we're not affected, but yet we can be in the stream and or the flow of righteousness. Otherwise, we're going to be in the destruction of the wicked. It's one or the other. And that's just what it's going to be. Luke 17:26, as we focus more on the mindset, as we just got finished talking about they're crying for righteousness in the street because all the joy is darkened. It's like all of what you're so familiar with is no more. All of the partying and everything that you're doing is like it's not available, it's gone. So we want to look from a state of antiquity to show that's how it has been going on from one cycle to the next cycle. Listen to it. Luke 17:26. In the days of Noah, so shall it be also in the days of the Son of Man. They did eat, they did drink. They married wives. They were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. This is what it was saying when we were just reading in Isaiah 24:11. There's crying for wine in the streets. Because during the point of the eradication, you're going to be in shock. Because you're looking for the convenience that they've spoiled you with. Number 28, Luke 17:28. It says, likewise, also as it was in the days of Lot. So we need to understand we have an example for Noah. We have an example for Lot. So we're giving insight to time periods where the earth was recalibrated. Some people were caught off guard. Some people were made to escape. And here we are in a position and a place that we're getting ready to go through another transition. Some of you don't believe it. Like they didn't believe it in a time of Noah. They didn't believe it in a time of Lot. But let's look at the similarity. He said, likewise also as it was in the days of Lot. They did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they built. But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. This is what we're on the brink of the eradication of corruption and evil. You all should be cheering right now. This is the good news. But for some of you, you say it's fear mongering. It's fire and brimstone. But this is the turning point, because a number of us were sick of it. He said, even thus, in number 30, even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. That's the time we're living in now. When the Son of Man is revealed, they will be crying for wine in the streets. That joy that you're so familiar with will not be available. He's going to purge his floor. The world is going to be turned upside down. Isaiah 24:12. In the city is left desolation. The gate is smitten with destruction, meaning this world, with all of its power and with all of its might, will be thrown down. There'll be no European Union, NATO, United Nations, no America. All of the world superpowers and heads of state, they're all coming down. Why? Because they're in line with the corruption. They've signed the contract. They've made the deal with the devil. Psalms 10 and number 7. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Whenever these people talk, these heads of state, they're lying, fraud, deceit, cursing, and not cursing from the sense as just using what you call a bad word, but truly dealing with incantations and spells, and you all know what they do. He said, under his tongue is mischief and vanity. This is why they can't bring peace. Under their tongue, when they speak, it's mischief. They frame law with mischief. That's why it's grievous. And there's no justice. Number 8, he sit in lurking places in the villages. The way they have the system set up. You look at all of in America with the flock cameras and the smart TVs and all these things. I mean, they're lurking. They're watching. They're invading people's privacy. They're setting people up because they want the money. They're abusing the human resource. They sit in lurking places in the villages. The secret places do he murder the innocent. Look at what it's talking about. In the secret place, how they deal with the innocent. Right? His eyes are privately set against the poor. They don't give a damn about the poor. They don't do anything to help the world. If you're poor, they press down on you even more. He lie in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lie in wait to catch the poor. This is who they use to prop up their firm. They lie in wait on the poor. Do he catch the poor? You all have seen, you know what this is talking about if you apply it to today's time and today's standard as we look at this in the sense of the secret, the hidden meaning, the allegory. You see how their policies and their procedures are set against common people. You pay up or you go to jail. And then when you go to jail, you pay up because now they want that sweat equity and or that free labor. His laws are grievous. He do catch the poor when he draw him into his net. Their policies and their procedures are designed to trap the poor. He crouch and humble himself that the poor may fall by his strong ones. He tries to make us feel as if their policies and their procedures are for the good of humanity and or society. So they want us to feel as if what has just transpired, it transpired because, oh, we did something wrong. And too often we feel and we bury that guilt on ourselves when it's not our guilt to bury. We've been marked. We've been targeted by a system. He said, wherefore do the wicked, they contempt righteousness. They contempt God. He have said in his heart, thou will not require it. They think they're going to get away. They're boasting and ready to celebrate 250 years, and I tell you, they will not make 300, but they feel as if they will not have to be responsible for what they're doing. He said, thou hast seen it. This is what we're asking. He said, for thou behold mischief and spite. We see it. The requite is in thy hand, meaning they will have to pay. And the standard of righteousness will make them pay. And this is what we're looking for. This is what we're moving toward. This is what we desire, that they pay for what they've done. He says to requite it with thy hand. The poor commit himself unto thee. The poor, meaning those of the poor, not knowing the standards of righteousness, are now seeking these things out. As it said, the poor will inherit the kingdom of heaven. These are those that realize what's transpiring. We're poor in the nature of knowing what righteousness is. We know something is wrong, but we're now building ourselves to understand what righteousness is, that we can now be protected by standards that are not grievous. These are the things that will build us up and make us strong in the face of their corruption. The poor commit himself unto thee, unto righteousness, because that's our only defense. He said, thou art the helper of the fatherless, meaning, again, when dealing with principle, if we're not standing on pristine principle, We're not able to help ourselves. If we keep listening to them tell us to vote for this policy and this referendum and dealing within all of their standards that are centered around oppression, we will not see a day that we can breathe and or live or have clean air, fresh food, a righteous standard, because we're allowing ourselves to be guided by a voice of mischief. Number 15, is strong. Psalms 10 and 15. He says, break thou the arm of the wicked. Break thou the arm of the wicked and evil man. See, the devil, he ain't no spirit somewhere floating around. He ain't red with horns out his head and an arrow pointed tail. These are men. But with righteousness, that's the one thing that will destroy them. In all of their corruption, they can't fight it. And they think they have things so wrapped up that you'll never adhere to it. So they've taken the calculated risk, only to their error. He said, break thou the arm of the wicked and the evil man. Seek out his wickedness till thou find none. Do you understand what that says? You can celebrate 250 years within this oppression today, but you're not going to make 300. Because the wickedness is being sought after, hunted, until it is no more. Fortunately for us, unfortunately for you, you can't change. It's embedded within a number of you to only do evil. A number of us have been hypnotized and or brought under some degree of incantation to where we can wake up and come to realize, we've been within the wrong manifold. Let me clean up this house. Let me redirect my intention. Number 16, it says, the Lord is king forever and ever. Righteousness will reign forever and ever. The heathen are perished out of the land. Wickedness is gone from the earth. 17, Lord, thou hast heard the desire of the humble. What is the desire of the humble? The desire of the humble is to eliminate unrighteousness. Anybody against eliminating unrighteousness? If you're against eliminating unrighteousness, let it be known. Lord, hear thou the desire of the humble. Thou wilt prepare their heart. See, that poor that was abused by the oppression, when he humbled himself to the standards of righteousness, is going to prepare his heart, meaning his mind. Our mind will be strengthened because that's our only fortress against these standards. They've infiltrated our mind, and they've infiltrated our mind with inferior standards. So in order for us to overcome, we have to change those principles, those processes. He said, thou will prepare their heart, meaning their mind. Thou will cause thine ear to hear. Faith come by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. Hearing by the word of righteousness. To judge the fatherless and the oppressed. It says that the man of the earth may no more oppress. See, they're not going to make it to 300. Because the man that's in the earth dealing with the oppression, it's already written that he's going to pay for his crime. And the way he's going to pay for his crime is he's going to stand before a wall of righteousness, men that have reconditioned their position within their mind. See, a man within wickedness is standing against another man and oppressing him. When our mind is reconditioned, centered around the standards of righteousness, then we stand strong and we eradicate the oppression, and they now have to pay the judgment for their crimes. That's the remedy. Man against man. We do not wrestle against flesh and blood. We're wrestling against the principles. Those within wickedness and unrighteousness, and those standards of righteousness and immortality. And they refuse to let you know the secret to their downfall is in us changing our mind. Gravitating toward pure principle. This is why I encourage you to scrutinize righteousness. To understand what the elements and or the tenets of righteousness, what they are. This is how you meditate on the law day and night. There's no instant gratification, but as you meditate on this day and night and you search to understand what righteousness is, it will be given to you a little here, a little there based on your commitment. But righteousness is not going to come to a fool. Wisdom will not deal with a double-minded man. This is for those that are committed, that it will be revealed. That's why it's a secret. As it said, the mysteries of God or the mysteries of righteousness, it's a secret to be given and or revealed to those that are committed. If you're double-minded, don't waste your time. Wisdom will not reveal itself to you. You will not stand to fight against the corruption. You're not built for it. Isaiah 24:19. Thank you all for coming into the live. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. But we're living through this. So for me, it's just beautiful to examine the words of a prophet that I can recall and I can forecast and tell you how to prepare yourself in this day. He said, the earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. That's where we are right now. And shall be removed like a cottage, meaning when a storm come through, or when that hurricane, that tornado come through, and you see that house, or when that earthquake rumble and everything is pancaked. He says, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it. This is what we've been talking about. All of the corruption that they've placed within the world, it's got to be cleaned up. Who's going to clean it up? Not them. You all love talking about a new world order, and you have no idea. The real new world order is about righteousness, the elimination of the corruption. That's the real new world order. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage. And the transgressions thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall, not to rise again. This is their end. As they look to celebrate 250 years, they're not going to make it to 300. It's going to fall and not rise again. Because they have the world reeling like a drunkard. They've poisoned the world with their policies, their procedures, their laws of mischief. So it must be eliminated, never to rise again. Psalms 82 and 5. They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. That's where we are right now. We're walking on in darkness. We don't understand. We don't realize we've not yet come to know that we must arm ourselves with righteousness. That's how we're going to turn the world around. Man against man. And as long as we allow our minds to be infiltrated with their standards of wickedness, we're weak. But when we arm our minds with the elements and tenets of righteousness, then God is manifest on earth to clean it up. We ain't talking about nothing mystical and magical and looking to entertain you with the arts, and we're just saying this is what has to happen, man against man. A number of you talk about going and grabbing your arms and your munitions and trying to fight these people in this manner and or that way. You're going to lose. Our weapon is righteousness. A transformation from a terrestrial flesh to a celestial flesh. God's on earth manifest by the standards of righteousness. A different type of man where the weapons formed against us will not prosper. But in this sense, in this flesh, in this state of mind, every weapon they have will prosper. We've not yet raised our sense or our vibration to the standards of righteousness that we can take the world back, man against man. Because you all talk about revolution and how there's no revolution without bloodshed. And you all speak to these things, but you're in error because you think you can go and get what they gave you, a munition. And you think you can fight them with that. Oh, that's what they want you to do. Because they will slaughter you. But let the man, a wise man, arm his mind in righteousness. Uncover it because they buried it. In your mind, they buried it. So you got to dig. And you got to clean and you got to blow the dust off. You got to excavate. And once you uncover it, because it's there. Once you uncover it, even using the guide of what's written to help you remember, then we raise ourselves up in the standards of righteousness. Oh, don't look for them to have this conversation with you in their seminary schools. This is not going to happen on your Sunday worship. Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism, those things were created by men like the munitions and or the weapons of the world in this day and time. Those things are inferior. They were created by men, all used to deceive the world. He said, they know not, neither will they understand. He said, they walk on in darkness. All the foundation of the earth are out of course. All the foundations of the earth are out of course because the men of righteousness are not on par. Let the men of righteousness stand up, then the earth comes back into alignment. The true stewards of the earth. Isaiah 24:21. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high. Righteousness will punish those that deal in wickedness. The kings of the earth are upon the earth. Those, as I was saying before, the United Nations and NATO's and European unions and these world governments and world leaders, they're going to fall. They will be punished. Every last one of them. All of them that you think are so powerful and so mighty. He says, and they shall be gathered together as prisoners. And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit. And shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days they shall be visited. Allegory, the secret meaning to this? They're functioning within corruption. This is them in the pit. They're having their way. Seems as if they got fame on their side. Seems as if they're thriving. Looks like they're successful and they're having all the fun. But they're trapped in their corruption, in that wickedness. They're trapped. And when righteousness comes for them, there will be nowhere for them to run. Because they're in the pit. Wickedness is the emblem of that pit. The reward for the transgression, is a loss of life. an end, to be no more. They will be visited. Jeremiah 30:11. I am with thee, saith the Lord, to save thee. Now, again, focused on the hidden meaning. I am with thee, saith the Lord. What is the Lord? Is this just the image of some man? Because as they've infiltrated our minds, you all have heard me say, they've given us our gods, our monsters, and our aliens. Certain word sounds bring certain images in our head. So here, when you say Lord, what pops in your mind? When you say God, what pops in your mind? And I'm just telling you, to be functional, replace that with righteousness. As you then learn what righteousness is, as you then start to look at the elements and or the tenets to righteousness, that these things can make sense in this day and time. And we get away from all of the misleading religious pretense from the seminary schools, Catholicism, Judaism, Christianity, all of that nonsense. He says, for I am with thee, saith righteousness. For righteousness to be with us, this is where we function accordingly. To save thee. Righteousness is the thing that's going to save us. As unrighteousness and the wickedness is the thing that's destroying us. But if you're stuck on religion, you can't get past Lord, because you want that to be a Jesus, a Yahweh, a Yahweh, whatever. And then it becomes non-functional in that sense. Because how is Jesus or Yahweh, how is he going to save? He's not going to deal with you if you're not in line with the principles of righteousness. So first, let's do that. So then, if you're confronted by a Yahweh Shai, a Yahweh, a Jesus, a Lord, you're prepared. You can then be accepted. But first, it's the standard that's going to save you, like it's the standard that have destroyed you. I am with thee, saith the Lord. We're dealing with the mystery within what's written, the secret. As this book is full of the parable, most of the speakers and teachers and those that have dealt with this, they don't align themselves with the hidden meaning. And it continues to get lost. But today, we're looking at the secret. We're showing how to make these writings applicable to your mind in this day and time, that you can readjust. Talking about a Lord and a God being the thing that you serve and you do, outside of the image of some man or some entity. Let us first be the man and the entity, that should the entity present itself, we're already in a line. We're in alignment with it. Because if the man or the entity presented itself within righteousness and we have not trained ourselves to deal with it, guess what? We'll receive the reward of the wicked. We can't stand before the man or the entity in a state of corruption. We're being called to build ourselves up to be that righteous For I am with thee, saith the Lord, to save thee. He says, though I make a full end of all the nations, whether I have scattered thee. Those of us within righteousness, we've been scattered. And he's going to make a full end of those nations, meaning they're not going to be in power. They're not going to have rule. He says, I will not make a full end of thee, meaning some of us will perish because we've made contracts with the corruption, with the devil, with the evil. We're sold that this is the world and there's nothing else. There's no change. Goes back to what I was saying. If we're not preparing ourselves to be that righteous, then a full end will be made of us. We will receive the reward of the wicked. He says, yet will I not make a full end of thee? He says, but will I correct thee in measure? This is what I'm telling you. We're being called to use this time right now to correct ourselves by the measure. What is the measure? Righteousness. So scrutinize it. Bring yourself to learn the tenets and the elements of righteousness through commandments, through precepts. Separate from what we've been given within our common education and or understanding within these institutions, even of religion. Taught and or told to live our lives according to American pragmatism, according to their policies, their procedures, and the laws of mischief that they've created. Turn our mind away from that and learn to rebuild or start to rebuild our frame of reference within how we're going to exist. And again, they don't have institutions to help us understand these things. So it's only by the revealing of writings within antiquity that your mind can be open to see it, to know that this is where truth lies, where truth stands. As you say, put on the full armor of righteousness. That's the only thing that's going to protect us in this day and time. He says, I will not make a full end of thee. He says, but I will correct thee in measure and will not leave thee altogether unpunished, because we've been afflicted. We all know it. We've been oppressed as we're looking at 200. They're celebrating the 250 years of our oppression. Don't be fooled. They know what they're celebrating. Joel 3 and number 2. I will also gather all nations. See, they're not going to do this forever. It's temporary, and their time is coming to the close. I will also gather all nations and will bring them into the valley of Jehoshaphat. More focused to the place of Armageddon. And will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage, not my religion. In these writings, it mentions nothing about the seminary schools, Catholicism, Christianity. It's not dealing with their tenets in Judaism. And when he talks about pleading, it ain't begging. Come on, y'all. Can we all just get along? This plead is going to be through a show of power and force that wickedness will not stand. But the people of the heritage, those that are truly centered to rule the world in righteousness, to bring things back to its proper course, are going to be put in position and or place to lead the world. I know for a number of you, this is hard to hear because you think white people are going to rule forever. And you're denying the fact that all the cause and trouble in the world today is under their leadership. They boast to be the superpower. So that means they are the stewards. And they're saying for over 250 years, look at what they've done. They've oppressed more people. They've stolen more land. He says, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage, Israel. This ain't talking about Netanyahu and the state of Israel, because that's a fraud. But there's a real people. They don't go by that name anymore because they've been scattered abroad and they've been from one captivity to another captivity. Hell, half of them don't even know who they are. They've lost their heritage. They've lost their name. They go by other names and other misnomers, other nationalities. But this people is called to rule the world in righteousness, not Europeans, who have been called to rule the world in chaos and destruction, which the earth can only take so much of that before it has to go through an upheaval. Right? All right, give me a second. Got to get my point back. All right, 1 second, you all. All right, so he says, I'll plead with them therefore my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations. That was the thing I was saying. Israel is a people before it's a place. It's a people who've lost their heritage, lost their name, don't even know who they are, but they've been scattered abroad, what you call the diaspora. He said, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. So the wicked, the Europeans, the conquerors, the settlers, the transgressors, the great transgressors, they've scattered the people into various nations, and then they've parted the land. No different than in 48 when they moved another group of Europeans into the region and called it the state of Israel. This is where they part the lands. He says, and have cast lots for my people. You all may not understand the degree of captivity that a people have gone through in this region, this part of the world, that part of the world. But this people have been made to serve for ages and generations in China, in the Philippines. I mean, when you look at it, they're everywhere, but they're hidden, erased. But you'll find different photos and you'll see them as dark as me. Jeremiah 30 and number 12, you all. For thus saith the Lord, this is what is in righteousness. Thy bruise is incurable, meaning for those of us that are meant to rule in righteousness, as long as we deal under the tenets of their leadership, there's nothing that can heal us. There's no democracy. There's no medicine. There's no doctor. There's nothing we have in this world that can heal us. Our oppression, our bruise, it's incurable. Thus saith righteousness, the Lord, thy bruise is incurable, and thy wound grievous. As long as we deal in line with them according to corruption, then we're laying in a weakened state. We're bedridden. We're useless. Deuteronomy 28 and 68. He says, and there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. That ties into the bruise being incurable and the wound being grievous, meaning when we fall into captivity, Malcolm X couldn't help us. Martin Luther King can't help us. Garvey couldn't help us. The Panthers can't help us. All of these men that have tried to bring us out of oppression, they could not help us because they were trying to use the measures of this world. King got tricked into accepting civil rights. But he says, and you shall be sold to your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall redeem you. He says, no man shall buy you, meaning no man will be able to save you. The only thing that will be able to save us is understanding the tenets of righteousness. Jeremiah 30 and 13. There is none to plead thy cause. Look at us in America today, 250 years of oppression. There has been none to plead our cause for liberation, as we are a people in America still being ruled by another people. Our wound is grievous because we continue to try to follow after their standards, their policies, their procedures. We think some good as they want to introduce a board of peace. If they could bring peace, they would have done it by now, but all they can bring is destruction, war, chaos, more harm. Historically, there's a pattern. There's a cadence. Has not changed. It will not change until it is stopped. Thank you all for coming into the live. Share the live, repost the live. Y'all tap the screen. That part doesn't cost anything. That's how you show your support for the live. He says, there is none to plead thy cause. Until we deal in the standards of righteousness, that's our remedy. If you all want to build black banks and you want to deal with generational wealth, there is none to plead thy cause. You can build all the black banks you want. You can talk about generational wealth all you want. We're still in the system of oppression. You want to do all of that in a system of oppression? No, it's not going to work. There will be none to plead your cause. Because when they're ready to come in and take it from you, they will, as they've done in the past. He said, there will be none to plead thy cause that they may be bound up. Meaning that the unrighteous rulers can be stopped. Thou has no healing medicine as long as we're being guided by their persuasion, by their instruments within imagination. There's no healing for us. We will continue to suffer. It's their whole intent and or purpose to keep us away from the standards of righteousness, period. As long as we can be confused about what righteousness is, they're satisfied. Because they think they can get 50 more years out of it. But they're not going to make it. America will not see 300 years. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the thoughts that thou think toward you, saith the Lord, say righteousness. Thoughts of peace. So when we deal with righteousness, we have thoughts of peace, not of evil, to give you an expected end. So let me say this again, because when we deal with righteousness, there's an expected end. When we deal with righteousness, there is peace separate from evil and or the harm that we're faced with in our everyday lives. Oh, I know. Don't wait for their experts and their professionals. Don't wait for their ministers and their bishops to explain it to you this way. They will not. As the devil has transformed himself into an angel of light, and he created Catholicism, Christianity, and Judaism, and he's giving it all to you as if it's a sense of righteousness. But these are the things that have been used to control the world, mislead and or misguide the world. He says, for I know the thoughts that I think toward you. In righteousness, it's already understood how you're going to live and what you're going to be. He says thoughts of peace, meaning the earth will be in harmony, not of evil, looking at what they've done, which will be stopped and eradicated, to give you an expected end, meaning it's already understood that righteousness will rule the world and who's going to be standing in the seat of righteousness. Joel 3:21, he says, for I will cleanse their blood that I've not cleansed, meaning our mind will be reshaped. Right now, we're covered in filth following after the corruption, following after these losers. But our mind has to be cleansed. Our blood has to be pure. Righteousness is that thing to remedy the entire world. Some of you are mad because white folks won't usher in righteousness. He says, I will cleanse their blood that I've not cleansed. And the Lord shall dwell in Zion. Let me deal with that, because we're talking about hidden meanings and mysteries and parable. The Lord being righteousness, Zion being excellence. Righteousness will dwell in excellence, meaning we as people will be a prime example of what God would look like in the flesh. We would have a pure example of what righteousness looks like in the world. The Lord shall dwell in Zion. Righteousness is going to be exemplified through a people. the quality of excellence. Leviticus 26:45. He says, but I will for their sakes remember the covenant of their ancestors. This is why we're talking about a heritage. To hell with your religion. This is about a people that have been scattered abroad but are coming back to their rightful place to be the stewards over the earth in righteousness and excellence. Something we don't know nothing about under the leadership of these Europeans. Or as my brother C.P. Bay so eloquently says, the hybrid Europeans. He says he's going to remember the covenant of their ancestors, whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt, meaning I brought them out of bondage once before. In the sight of the heathen, which he's going to do it again, in the sight of the heathen, we're going to be raised up. We're going to be moved from being the tail, and we're going to be put back at the head in front of the eyes of every heathen. All of the non-believers will have something to believe. He says that I might be their God. I am the Lord. We're going to be brought forward in front of all nations that righteousness may rule the world, when he says that I might be their God. That righteousness may be shown unto all the world. I am the Lord. I am righteousness. As he said in the book of Isaiah, the Lord, our righteous. Just dealing with the allegory, hidden meaning. Just trying to say it and show what others will not say, can't show. Because there's no seminary school that you can go to get this understanding. If it's not revealed to you, then you don't have it. There's no minister paper and or degree that you can get to see these things, to be able to articulate within the prophetic nature what it means to this day and time that we can overcome the corruption, because it's not meant for everybody to hear. So all of the scoffers that are in the comments, scoff on. Your day is coming. But for those of you that can hear the frequency, as the Lord say, my people will hear my voice and they will not follow another. Keep listening. That you can bring yourself to understand the remedy in righteousness. That you can bring yourself to realize what righteousness is. Break it down, scrutinize it. Look at the tenets, look at the elements, meditate on it day and night, that you can find this nugget, this piece, that piece, and rebuild your life, rebuild your frame of mind, brick by brick, precept by precept. The only way you're going to get it is you're going to have to spend time with it. There's no instant gratification here. But the beautiful thing about it is this. If you commit yourself to it, the last should be first and the first should be last. If you commit yourself to it, and the revealing of righteousness was to appear in that instance, you've gave yourself an advantage. For in all that you don't know, it then will be revealed to you upon that time. because you've committed yourself to it in that instance. But for those of you that still hold that double mind, there's no hope for you. In that instance, you will be destroyed. So for those of you that have decided in the instance to go for it, don't look at what you don't know. Look at what you've come to know and how you're rehearsing that righteous act, because in the next day, something else will be revealed to you that you can build upon that. Righteousness is looking for commitment. Wisdom is looking for discipline in the commitment. We don't have time for the double-minded individuals. He says that I might be their God. I'm the Lord. He said, these are the statutes and judgments and laws. This is what righteousness is built around. Not their policies, not their procedures. These are the statutes and judgments and laws which the Lord made between him and the children of Israel in Mount Sinai by the hand of Moses. So for us, as the diaspora and those that have been scattered abroad, and we're trying to figure this thing out, and we're talking about righteousness being the thing that's going to save, it's in the statutes, the judgments, it's in the laws. It's within the nuance of these writings that we'll find different elements of it. But again, it doesn't reveal itself to you until you commit to wanting to meditate on it day and night. Isaiah 14:3. And it shall come to pass in the day of the Lord, and it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow. As we have been dealing with 250 years of oppression, we need rest from this sorrow. We will have no rest as long as we continue to uphold their democracy, to follow after their standards, their rules. They changed the laws and the ordinances. But for us, in the seat of power and position, we must go back to that righteous standard. But if we want rest from our sorrows, it's within the body of righteousness, according to the commandments, the statutes, the judgments, the laws. He says, and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage wherein thou was made to serve, as they boast 250 years, you all. That was captivity. That was bondage that we have been made to serve. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And in order for us to get rest, not to live in fear from the bondage that we've been made to serve, we have to turn back to righteousness. Otherwise, there's no cure. There's no medicine. There's no one that's going to save us. Oh, in Christianity, they say, oh, Jesus is going to come and Jesus is going to save you. No one is coming to save you if you've not positioned yourself to righteousness. Ain't no Jesus coming to save you and you're in corruption. He's going to destroy you. Let's go to the prayer of Azariah. Azariah. Let's go to the prayer of Azariah. This is in the Apocrypha. Number 3. There's only one book in Azariah. Number 3. Blessed art thou, O Lord God of our fathers. Who is that? What is that? Who is the God of our fathers? It was a principle. It was a standard. It was the laws that we were asked to live by, that we could be put on high and above all nations. The thing that we were meant to serve. He said, thy name is worthy to be praised and glorified forevermore. That thing where it says thy name, remember he said his name is the word of God. This is where I'm telling you in code within righteousness to replace that. His name being the word of God is talking about righteousness, that you can understand what it's turning you to, the hidden meaning, the secret. That's what's worthy to be praised and shown in fame forever, glorified as fame forever. It's righteousness, the standard, the law, the principles. He says, for thou art righteous in all things that thou hast done unto us, as we talk about the hard bondage that we're going through. According to the law, according to the prophecy, it was all in there that said, if you do this, this is going to happen to you. If you do that, this is going to happen to you. Well, we chose the lesser. So he says, you're righteous in all that you've done because we went against our own heritage. Yea, he says, true are all thy works, because he told us this would be our end. But he left us a way out. How gracious, how merciful. Only temporary. He left us a way out. He says, thy ways are right, and all thy judgments truth, meaning for this sorrow and hard bondage that we're going through, this is just for us because we have a way out. Jeremiah 31:28. He says, and it shall come to pass, like as I have watched over them, to pluck up and to break down, and to throw down, and to destroy, and to afflict. He says, so will I watch over them to build and to plant, saith the Lord, which I say he left us a way out. For all of the sorrow and the hard bondage, as he said, we've been plucked up, broken down, thrown down. We've been destroyed. We've been afflicted. He's also going to watch over us to build us up, to plant us, and to make us strong. But the watching over us is in the line of righteousness. Like we must reposition ourselves to righteousness. That we can be built up, that we can be planted in firm soil to rule the earth in its proper place. Let's go back to the prayer of Azariah. Number 6. Azariah, that book is only one. So number 6, it says, for we have sinned and committed iniquity, departing from thee, departing from righteousness. We departed from righteousness and we fell. We departed from righteousness and the heathens, the other nations, have started to rule over us. He says, in all things have we transgressed. We've broken the standards of righteousness. right? In all things we have transgressed and not obeyed thy commandments. We have not obeyed righteousness. We went against righteousness and we suffer. We've been afflicted. We've been oppressed. We are oppressed for that very reason. So the antidote to overcome it, turn back to righteousness. He said, nor kept them, neither done as thou have commanded us, that it might go well with us. Should we turn to righteousness, it will go well for us. Turn against it, and we're afflicted. We're oppressed. We suffer. We deal in hard bondage, and guess what? There's no democracy. There's no voting for this president or that president or Harris, or no one is going to give you the reprieve necessary to come out of the oppression, except we turn back to righteousness. It's just that simple, but it's just that hard. Number 8, wherefore all that thou hast brought upon us and everything that thou hast done to us, thou hast done in true judgment, because it's written. He said, thou did deliver us into the hands of lawless enemies. Oh, how true is that? Are we not delivered into the hand of a lawless people? Most hateful forsakers of God, or hateful forsakers of righteousness. And to an unjust king. We've been delivered into the hands of unjust rulers and the most wicked in all the world. Did not Job 9:24 tell us? The world is in the hand of the wicked. You all have a problem identifying who the wicked is? You still think they can bring peace on earth? They are wicked. Leviticus 26. Leviticus 26 and 44, you all. And yet, for all that, when they be in the land of their enemies, we're now in the land of we're being ruled by our enemies. He says, I will not cast them away, neither will I abhor them. We have a way out. We're not done. All we have to do is find our way back to righteousness, not religion. All we have to do is come to understand our heritage, our customs, our traditions, not religion. Not Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism, none of that. For the heritage pertaining to the people of righteousness. He says, neither will I abhor them to destroy them utterly, because some of us will be destroyed. And to break my covenant with them, for I am the Lord their God. Meaning, we have a standard that once we go back to those principles, then it will be enforced beyond the control of any European and or their armies, their inventions. From that standpoint, no weapon formed against us shall prosper when we stand in our proper position and or place. But if you try to go against them and you've not come into the principles of righteousness, you will be destroyed. They will defeat you at every turn. He says he's not going to break his covenant. He says, for I am the Lord, their God. Meaning we're supposed to serve righteousness. And when we serve righteousness, no one can touch us. Isaiah 14 and number 1. The Lord will have mercy upon Jacob and will yet choose Israel. Not talking about Netanyahu and the fraudulent state of Israel over in that region. But this is dealing with a real people, a real and true heritage, lost and forgotten, scattered abroad. He said, and set them in their own land. And the strangers will be joined with them. These other nations, those heathens that are around and about that have enjoyed their corruption, they're going to be placed alongside of righteousness to serve and to rebuild. Watch this. He said, and the stranger shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Oh, your bishop and your minister and your Baptist and your Methodist and whatever denomination or non-denomination of Christianity that you in, they'll never read this to you. He says, and the people shall take them, meaning the children of the heritage centered upon righteousness is going to take the heathen nations that have destroyed the world and have oppressed people and nations of people. He said, and bring them to their place, meaning they're going to be aligned in the regions that we have them aligned in to rebuild in righteousness. He said, and the house of Israel, meaning the people of God, the heritage of God, shall possess them in the land of righteousness, in the land of the Lord, for servants and handmaids, meaning like right now, we're considered servants and handmaids to the government and or to the governments of the world. The people are slaves, servants and handmaids to the governments of the world. So in the state of righteousness, it's only right that they get a taste. This is the truth in retribution. They are not going to escape. I don't care what lies they tell you in Christianity that Jesus coming to hug, love, and kiss on everybody. That's not happening. That's make-believe. Everything I'm looking at, if it's talking about a Jesus, he's coming to eradicate the world of all evil and corruption in the name of righteousness. And right here, it says the heathen will be taken and made to serve as bondmen and bondwomen, right? He said, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were. I don't need to reiterate on that. He said, and they shall rule over their oppressors. While they're celebrating 250 years, I'm telling you, they're not going to make another 50. They will be taken captive. And the leaders or the children of righteousness will be made to rule over their oppressors. Oh, they don't want to talk about that within your Christian nationalism, within Catholicism and Christianity, and within the European sense of Judaism. None of that stuff is real. But all of these people will be servants and handmaids in the land of righteousness. All of their might and all of their glory is going to be to their shame. Leviticus 26 and 45. He says, I will for their sakes remember the covenant of their ancestors whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt in the sight of the heathen. He said that I might be their God. I am the Lord. We read that earlier. A righteous nation and or people will have stewardship over the world. And all of those that have been a part of destroying the world, they're going to be taken for servants, handmaids. And they're going to be made to work and to rebuild. I'm almost there. I'm almost. Let you know, almost. Getting through it. Hebrews 8 and 10. He said, for this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. Now, the covenant is not with the whole world. It's not just with anybody that say, I believe in Jesus. Just because you confess with your mouth and now all of a sudden you're part of this covenant. And this Israel is not talking about the fraudulent acts of a state of the Israelis over in what they call the Middle East. This is truly dealing with the lost heritage of a people that have been scattered abroad, coming back to reclaim their rightful seat. He says, I will put my laws into their mind. This is what I'm telling you. The sense or the state of righteousness will have to be in our minds. But when that happens, we'll also have a transformation within the terrestrial flesh to the celestial flesh. He says, and write them in their hearts. He says, and I will be to them a God. Righteousness will be the thing that we serve. And they shall be to me a people. We will be a people governed by righteousness. Joel 2:27. He says, ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel. Not in the midst of all the people and all the nations. He's in the midst of Israel. And this is, again, not talking about the fraudulent acts of a state of Israel and the imposters over in that region that call themselves Jews. He says, and that I am the Lord, your God, and none else. And my people shall never be ashamed. So what this is saying is once we stand on righteousness, we'll be the ones that rule in righteousness over the earth alone. No other people, no other nation. It's like right now, the Europeans, they're the ones that rule. No other people, no other nation. They have it on lock in wickedness. You all seem to understand that. But as it's now talking about the people of righteousness, because they look more like me, your mind, you can't wrap your mind around it. It's like, oh no, hell no. None else will be able to rule in that seat of righteousness but those of the heritage. Throw your religion in the trash. Get mad because I'm calling out Christianity, Catholicism, and Judaism as all being made up. Get mad. Walk away. I don't care. This is not about me. He said his people will hear his voice and will not follow another. So if you walk away, you're not his people. I don't care. Psalm 17:15. As for me, I will behold thy face in righteousness. We need to scrutinize righteousness. Let us come to understand what righteousness is, because that's the armor that we need to put on. He says, I shall be satisfied in righteousness. He says, I should be satisfied when I awake. I have to awake because right now I'm in corruption. I'm in wickedness. But I need to awake. He says, with thy likeness. The likeness is righteousness. You all heard me use the analogy of when you're working for a governmental agency or a corporation. If you go out and perform a certain act that goes against one of their standards, they'll tell you that you've hurt the image or the likeness of, that company or that agency. So to awake in thy likeness is to awake in righteousness, because that's the likeness. That's the likeness that we're needed to have. When he said, let us make man in our image and our likeness, it's saying, let us make man according to the standards of righteousness. Let's go back to the prayer of Azariah, number 31. He said, blessed art thou in the temple of thine holy glory. In the temple of thine holy glory is talking about our bodies. That's the temple. This is where we're going to have our fame. It's within this body, although transformed to a celestial sense. The other style of flesh. He said to be praised and glorified above all forever. This is where he says he's going to write it in our mind, put it in our heart. This temple being transformed to the celestial flesh will maneuver or be righteous will be manifest to then rule above all forever. Psalms 107 and 42. Excuse me. Psalms 107 and 42. The righteous shall see it. This is what you hear me talking about. The righteous, the righteous, the righteous. And I'm telling you, it's time to break down righteousness. The elements and the tenets that you can now rebuild your mind around the principles of righteousness, because this is what's going to allow you to sit within salvation. The righteous shall see it and rejoice, and all iniquity shall stop her mouth. This is what we've been talking about. They're not going to see another 50 years as today. They're out, and a number of you got your fireworks and you're ready to go and celebrate 250 years of this oppression. But the iniquity, their mouth will be stopped. What's going to stop it? Righteousness. The one thing, you all, as subtle as it's being said, and for some as hard as it is to comprehend, that's the one thing that's going to turn all of this around. The people who will then build themselves up against all odds with righteousness. He said, whosoever is wise and will observe these things. So if you're wise, you're going to take heed to what's being said. He said, even they shall understand the loving kindness of righteousness. It says they shall understand the loving kindness of the Lord. The loving kindness is looking at how righteousness allowed us to be muddied up and dirty, but with the water, the washing of the word, we can be clean and put back in our rightful place. Maccabees, 2nd Maccabees, 14 and 36. He says, therefore now, O holy Lord of all holiness. This is righteousness in its pristine form. He says, keep this house ever undefiled. Righteousness is the one thing that will keep us pure. He says, which lately was cleansed. He says, and stop every unrighteous mouth. Psalms 74:3. Lift up thy feet unto perpetual desolation. See, because right now it seems like for ages and generations, the wicked have been doing their thing. But with righteousness, he's saying, stop thy mouth. Lift up thy feet. Put an end to this perpetual desolation. He says, even all that the enemy have done wickedly in the sanctuary. The entire world, you all, is the sanctuary. And they've done wickedly. They've ruined the entire world. But to stop them, to stop this perpetual desolation, the secret is righteousness. That's the only one thing. He said, thine enemy roar in the midst of thy congregation. Right now, in the sense of the world, they don't give a damn about the people of God or the standards of righteousness. They stand and they say, we're mighty, we're strong. Look at our military. Anyone that come up against us will be defeated. They set up their ensigns for a sign. They got their flags. They got their emblems. They got their creeds. And all of these things people are marching to as a number of you are prepared to celebrate 250 years of oppression. You got your fireworks and you're going to let your children go out and participate in the madness. And you try to dumb it down in the name of fun. Job 9:24, because they've set up their ensigns and signs. Job 9:24, when he talked about the world being in the hand of the wicked, he said, he covered the faces of the judges thereof, meaning all the things centered around righteousness, they didn't hear that. And they put up their own emblems and signs, statutes. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where? Who is he? We see it. And we're working our way to the end, you all, coming down to my last few verses for today. Thank you all for coming into the live. Thank you for sharing the live. Thank you for reposting the live. Thank you all for tapping the screen. That part doesn't cost anything. That's how you show your support for the live. And there's a link right now on my page right here. If you go up to the bio, right under where it says Saturday at 11 o'clock, if you click that link, it'll take you to the channel. Subscribe to that channel. All the videos for Prophecy 2026 are there. It's a playlist also where you can catch all of the videos for the Prophecy 2026. This video will be posted there as well. If you missed anything, you can go back and you can catch up, make your notes. Share it with your family and or your friends, right? So he says in Psalm 74:7, they have cast fire into thy sanctuary. They have destroyed the world. They have defiled by casting down the dwelling places of thy name to the ground. They don't deal with righteousness. They put that in the mud. They bury it. Also, they can rule in wickedness. As Job said, the earth, the world is in the hand of the wicked. We're coming to the end. These are the last few verses right here. I'm going to read from Ezekiel, Maccabees, Psalms, and the last will be the prayer of Azariah, and then we're done for today. Ezekiel 22 and 26, he says, her priests have violated my law. As they've put up their signs, their ensigns, their priests within these seminary schools and the Christianity and Catholicism and Judaism, these priests, they have violated the law. He says, and have profaned my holy things. They have put no difference between holy and profane. Y'all pay attention. As you're witnessing this right now, today, in real time, as Ezekiel is a prophet. But because we've been wanting to look at this in the literal sense, we've missed the hidden meaning, the mystery of God, the secret of God. But here we are, seeing they make no difference between what is wicked, what is righteous. People are confused in real time today. As I'm telling you, the antidote is righteousness, and some of you are like, huh? What? What is he talking? They've made no difference between the holy and the profane. In their institutions, they've trained you to be mind, brain, numb, dead. Neither have they showed the difference between the unclean and the clean. Same thing. People think it's just cool in this day and time, you can do whatever you want. It's okay. Just say in Jesus' name and everything gonna be fine. And have hid their eyes from my Sabbath. And I am profaned among them. They say, don't worry about the Sabbath. Go out on Sunday. You don't have to acknowledge the Sabbath no more in the name of Jesus. Jesus fixed it. Jesus changed it. He says, and I am profaned among them because in their Sunday worship, they don't teach righteousness. They may give you a motivational speech or tell you to sow a seed or give you some other understanding, but they're not teaching the difference between a clean and an unclean. They don't teach you to acknowledge the holiness within the Sabbath. They have profaned righteousness. First Maccabees 3 and 48. He says, and laid open the book of the law. This is what they've done. They've opened the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their image. Not only did they create a white Jesus with blonde hair and blue eyes, but really, this is talking about their image or their likeness being wickedness. They took the standards of righteousness out and they replaced them with their own in the likeness of unrighteousness. That's their image in corruption. The world is now being guided through their image and their likeness within wickedness and corruption, unrighteousness. They took and opened the book and they changed the laws and the ordinances. Psalms 74 and number 9. We see not our signs. Where are the signs of righteousness in the world today? According to the covenant, according to the standards, according to the laws that are not grievous, we don't see them. We see not our signs. There is no more any prophet, because their prophets and their priests, they have led us astray because they don't deal with the laws and they promote the image and the likeness of the beast, the policies and the procedures and the ways of the world. It's the American dream. There is no more any prophet, neither is there among us any that know how long. Meaning, those within the standard or the position to speak in accordance to what righteousness is, they're not available to teach and to show what's happening, what needs to transpire, because they've all conceded to the corruption. He says, oh God, oh, looking at righteousness, how long shall the adversary reproach? Shall the enemy blaspheme thy name forever? Shall the enemy have right to go against thy word forever? Shall they be able to have their image and their likeness in the world forever? No. It's temporary. And let us give thanks that we have had this time to witness it, because it's an annal, a true annal. It's a book that we'll be able to look and to show forever, why we will never go down this road again, looking to see what evil had done. Just a seed, a small grain of evil, how it has grown to destroy an entire world. We'll never let it happen again. How long shall the adversary reproach? How long will this wickedness go on? How long will they function against thy word? So here the people have an opportunity within grace, within mercy, to turn to righteousness. Not to religion, not to Catholicism, not to Christianity, not to Judaism, but to righteousness. That we can be saved, that we can have salvation, that we can overcome the corruption. The antidote is turning to righteousness. Not the blood of bulls and goats, but understanding, if you want to talk about a Jesus, understanding the example that he left that should be followed, to sin no more, to walk in righteousness, that you can be saved and or live in salvation. Not just say, I believe in Jesus, I confess with my mouth that Jesus is my Lord and Savior, and think you're going to have right to the kingdom in righteousness in your wicked old age, in your acts of corruption, although you go to church every Sunday and you jump around and kick your feet and you get the emotional feeling. All of that is superstition and or vain. As I said, It's not the Holy Ghost that make you move like that, but it's definitely a ghost. But it has nothing to do with righteousness, everlasting life, salvation. And last, you all, the final verse for today, going back to the Apocrypha, the prayer of Azariah, number 64. O ye spirits and souls. Let's identify what we're talking about. Because the spirit is in your action. The soul is in your manifestation. You know, they say in the spirit of the law, that's within the action. O ye spirits and souls, meaning those of us that will perform the duties of righteousness. He says, O ye spirits and souls of righteousness. Those that perform the duties of righteousness. Contrary to popular religion that says there's nothing you need to perform. They've given you a vain utterance to just say, I confess with my mouth I believe in Jesus, and that's supposed to bring you to righteousness. But look at all the corruption in the church for all of those that have supposedly confessed with their mouth that they believe in Jesus, and they're still living in fornication and adultery right in the church, from the pastor on down to those that are sitting in the pew. It's a religion of corruption. But ain't nobody saying nothing, though. And y'all mad because I brought it out, a number of you. You feel like I'm just stepping all over your Jesus. But what I'm stepping on is corruption and wickedness, and pulling it out because he said the truth will set you free. And that truth is righteousness. So here, O ye spirits and souls of righteousness, blessed be the Lord, blessed be righteousness. Praise and exalt him above all forever. Put righteousness above all things. Praise righteousness. Talk about it. Do it. Exalt that above all things forever. And with that, you all, I say shalom. And I hope that this conversation, this discussion, as we talk about 250 years of oppression and how it's coming to an end, they're not going to see another 50 years. I can only hope that you all have been edified by this discussion. And it's brought clarity for a number of you, because these writings and these verses have been confused for ages and generations, looked and or thought upon in a literal sense. And if you're not getting the sense based on the allegory and or the parable, then it may never make sense, because it wasn't meant to be read and taken literally. Although you can read it literally so that you can have a certain understanding, but that's only going to take you so far. You then have to be able to come back and see the hidden meaning within these writings. And without that, it is hid from those that the God of this world have blinded their eyes. And with that, I say shalom. I hope that, you all have enjoyed this Sabbath discussion, again, as we talk about the 250 years of oppression. All right. I tell you all, take your time today. Stay in the spirit, right? Meaning, stay searching for righteousness and bring yourself to put on the full armor of righteousness, that we can overcome the corruption, because that's the only one thing that will protect us from all that's happening in the world today. And with that, I'm out of here, you all. Shalom. Be safe. Until the next time.